Hi, welcome to 7 Facts, the channel where you'll get to discover little-known facts about every single country on this planet. Today we continue with the new series in which we'll cover all the British territories. In today's episode, we'll start covering the Crown dependencies. I'll explain what those are in a bit. The first dependency we'll talk about is the Isle of Man. Before we get into it though, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. In return, you'll get to explore the hundreds of videos that are already up, plus 2 brand new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. The Isle of Man is not a part of the United Kingdom, nor is it a British overseas territory. So why am I talking about it here? Because the Isle of Man is a Crown dependency. But what does that mean? It means that, although it's a self-governing country, it is a possession of the British monarchy. Furthermore, a Crown dependency is internationally considered to be a territory for which the United Kingdom is responsible. But even though this small island nation with a population of just 83,000 people is self-governing, they've done quite alright. Currently, they are ranked as the 5th richest nation on the planet by GDP per capita. By any measure, that's quite the accomplishment. In its history, the Isle of Man came under the possession of several major powers in the region. Vikings came in the area and ruled it for some time, even establishing a kingdom of the Isles. Because of this, at one point during the 9th century, they came under the rule of Norway, but by the 13th century, the island was ceded to Scotland. After this, it switched back and forth between Scotland and England, which was probably quite confusing. This situation lasted until 1399, when the lords of the time finally decided in battle that the Isle of Man belonged to the English crown. So why isn't the Isle of Man a part of the United Kingdom? Well, it never was. Throughout the centuries and to this day, they retain their status as a self-governing possession of the crown. The Isle of Man has been inhabited for at least 8,500 years. It was around the 5th century that the Gaelic nation of today started to emerge with its own version of the Gaelic language, the Manx, which is still used to this day, although only a small minority of the population is still fluent in the language. There's a larger minority that has some knowledge of it, and Manx is considered an important part of the island's culture and heritage. Although the last surviving native speaker of the language, Ned Madrell, died in 1974, the language has never actually fallen completely out of use. Manx has been the subject of language revival efforts, and in recent years, Manx has become more visible on the island with increased signage, radio broadcasts, and a bilingual primary school. Still, if you plan on visiting the island, the English language should be more than enough to get you around. Have you ever heard of the Manx cat? These guys are the tailless ones. They come from the Isle of Man, in case you didn't figure that out already. They are tailless because of a naturally occurring mutation that shortens their tail, so much so that most specimens are actually completely tailless. One cute legend as to how these cats appeared includes the biblical figure of Noah. According to the legend, 2 Manx cats were the last to board Noah's Ark. When the rain started to fall, Noah closed the ark's doors and caught their tails in the doors. Anyway, Manx cats are among the most social and tame domestic cats, and tail or no tail, they are just darn cute. The Isle of Man has the world's oldest continuous parliament, known as Tynwald. It was set up by the Vikings in the year 979 AD. Although today's parliament has modern offices in the capital Douglas, each July it meets at Tynwald Hill, an ancient Viking site, to declare each law that has been passed in the past year. Any Manx citizen can also make a petition, which, providing it meets certain criteria, will then have to be considered. I do need to say that their claim as the oldest parliament is a bit shaky. There is no evidence indicating that such an assembly was held in 979 or that any such event resembled the modern-day court. In fact, the first record of the place name occurs in the 13th century Chronicle of Man, and the first description of the role and composition of an assembly held on site occurs in the early 15th century. But even so, that makes it pretty old. With a population of 28,000 people, Douglas is the capital city of the Isle of Man. Back in the year 1511, there were only 13 resident households, and only a few of them were actually occupied. However, thanks to its natural harbor and the Industrial Revolution, the settlement grew and became a bustling city. So much so that in the 1860s, it became the island's main hub, stealing the title of capital from the ancient city of Castletown. A fun fact to mention is that the three brothers of the Bee Gees were all born here. Do you like Halloween? Well, on October 31st on the Isle of Man you'll have to celebrate Hoptunay. This Celtic festival actually predates Halloween and is thought to be the oldest unbroken tradition on the island. Hoptunay is the beginning of the Celtic New Year, marking the end of summer and the beginning of winter. It's an ancient celebration that is meant to mark the end of the harvest season and prepare for the long winter. Since both Hoptunay and Halloween are Celtic in origin and are in fact related, they are quite similar. But instead of carving pumpkins, Manx people use turnips to carve and use as lanterns. The festival is accompanied by singers, dancers, and of course, trick-or-treaters.